Ladies and gentle hands, I've made a promise and I must keep it. Today's video is going to be revolving around our beautiful cyberpunk city. I love this area so much, but I have one core issue, is that I hate building city buildings. I think it's mostly the fact that they're like realistically very boring, especially in real life. The architecture is just very flat. There's not a lot going on. And I really struggle to find creative satisfaction out of making a lot of these buildings. But today, I have cooked up a beautiful building that does satisfy my creative fulfillment. Yes. And it might inspire a lot of you also to work on some city buildings. Hello, Mr. freaking Wandering Trader. What do you got for me? Whoa, wait. Oh, you can trade with the Wandering Villager now to get emeralds instead of spending emeralds. Oh, that's so interesting. But before we work on a new cyberpunk city building, let's head over to the tavern that we worked on last episode because it is time for America's favorite segment. Interiors with Barce. Yes, indeed, guys. It's been a hot minute since we've done some interiors, but it's finally time. We crack our knuckles and we get down and dirty. Let's get some interiors made. So first off, we need to make this wall nice and flush with the glass. I wanted to use some depth on the front there. So unfortunately, we have to take away a little bit from the inside, but that's all right. Then we also need to texture this wall and a little bit of this wall right here. I just used stone because it wasn't, visible from the outside, but now it's gonna be visible from the inside. All right, we got our walls all fixed up now. We got to add in some floors. We got to add a nice little ceiling for the second floor. This is going to be where the inn is going to be. We'll work on that after the tavern. And we also need to install our floors here. And I'm really excited to work on this because we can now craft lodestones and they're actually affordable. And I love these textures so much. The chiseledness on the front and the top texture is just so elite. So I think we're going to do a little pattern like that with some smooth stone to be a little decent contrast with the wall. Nothing too crazy. Why is there still a stone block here? Oh, anyways, let's get installing on the floors and the roof. Why did I say it like that? Oh, that's so clean. I'm so glad I can freaking use what are they called? Lodestones now. Holy. All right, this place is feeling a lot cozier already. So first, let's install the actual bar. I'm thinking we put it in this little corner right here. And then we could have a bunch of seating elsewhere. I think it'd be really neat too if behind the bar there was a bunch of sort of like display stuff for like bottles and drinks, yada yada. Let's try it out. All right, we're running into our first problem, which is I really want these chiseled bookshelves to be kind of layered between the end here just to make them kind of look like little shelves or whatever for, said drinks. But our issue now is at the back of our build is exposed with this wooden facade. And this is an angle we will be seeing fairly frequently, especially if we're coming from the bridge side here. It's pretty bad. Ow. So we'll experiment with what we got to do to cover that up. But I know for sure I want the chiseled bookshelf on the inside. We're going to compromise. We'll figure it out. Maybe we just, throw a bunch of signs on the back and make it look like some patched up wall or something cool. I think that could be a neat little detail. But so what we got going on so far, I want to add in bar stools as well. So I brought some armor stands, and I believe maybe I should have done it back at the freaking storage room. But if we throw in some like leather helmets onto these guys, and then we push in a block into where, the base of the armor stand is, it'll kind of look like a bar stool. And I think that might be what we want. And we could dye them red, maybe, just to be a little bit of a nice little color pop. Yeah, I'm down for that. All right, if we want these lined up properly, we got to get fancy with it. So I think I want to do my armor stands in the middle of the block. So we're going to use a fence post to make sure that the armor stand is lined up in between the two blocks there. Then we can just do a piston, power it, and then break the piston. And then that looks like it's in between the two blocks, although it's actually a little bit off. Maybe a wall block is better. Oh, yeah, that's like perfectly aligned with the middle. Oh, yeah. Now the question is, do we want the... Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. I have a freaking resource pack that gets rid of the helmet textures. Oh, look how stupid I look now. My little bucket helmet, my little chum bucket helmet. But I'm trying to debate if we want to keep the armor stand sideways like this, or if we want to orient it the other way. But for sure, we got to turn it around because we don't want the front texture of the helmet to be facing, away. We want it to be facing towards the bar, more like that, for sure. Maybe we should push it down too. Oh, goodness. A lot of alignment here going on. All right, so we got to place our armor stand just like this, and then we place down our helmet, and that is almost aligned to how I want it. Oh no, do I need to get snow layers? Never in my Minecraft career have I thought I would have to gather snow layers to line up an armor stand exactly how I want it, but here we are. We love detailing. Okay, so how tall is a slab? Wait, we can look at our Y coordinate. We're at 375, so if I add one more, then we're at half. And then we probably want to go about maybe 2 above half. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do like a freaking 3/4 of a block. Oh my. Okay, is that the height? Yes, that's the height. That's the height we want. Then we can finally piston. It doesn't get rid of the snow layer or anything, right? Okay, cool. Then we break, and then that's all aligned. Very nice. Then we do it again. No, I can't move these. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Why? Why? Oh, that makes me so freaking sad. Okay, maybe we just use tough or something there. All right, here's our bar finally. Unfortunately, we can't move the lodestone blocks. Oh my goodness, that is such a freaking annoyance. But I mean, I guess we save a few lodestones. Yay. All right, we got our little bar made here with all of its little details. I love it so much. The brewing stand is a necessity because, this is a bar, and the Minecraft version of bars is Minecraft potions. Anyways, right here, I also want to add in a little, staff door leading into this little outhouse cubby here that leads to the outside area. Now, this, I'm thinking, would be some sort of storage closet where, a bunch of food and maybe some of the ingredients for potions or whatnot are all kept in there, which makes some sense. Now, we also need to work on the lighting in this room because right now we just got some torches up on the walls. And without some lighting, it looks a little dingy. So let's get some creative lighting in here. We can probably stick with some soul lanterns, and maybe red is like our main accent color throughout this whole place. So let's make some mangrove signs. And then we can throw in a chain or two right here. The soul lantern on top. Just some nice subtle lighting, and then surrounding it we can add in some signs that kind of give it a bit more of like an overhead light feel, like it's kind of like directly over the bar itself. Oh, I quite like that. We gotta make sure everything's mob proof in here, and it's looking nice and mob proof. Very nice. All right, let's work on the little storage room back here. It's gonna be nice and simple. And oh, I forgot there's water in here. That threw me off. Nice and simple though. We just got a nice little wooden floor, nothing too crazy in here. I feel like wooden actually doesn't make that much sense. Maybe we do a different stone pattern. Ooh, I got one. Let's do brain coral with a checkerboard pattern of tough. Yeah, that's nice. It's like a nice and dingy, unkept, back of house kind of floor looking thing. Ooh, door, yes. Then of course we got to add in all of our shelves. So we'll just try to throw them along the wall here. We'll do maybe a chest or maybe a barrel right there. Maybe 2 barrels. Oh, if we add tripwire hooks onto the front of them, it'll kind of look like kegs for that. Okay, I like that a lot. Then we do a beehive up there just because it looks like a chest. Another chest right next to it. We don't have a lot of room in here. We can even do something like this. Another one of these kegs. And then maybe another chest. All right, I think this works. Nice and crowded. I added in some signs just to kind of act as like maybe some repairs were done in here, so they had to patch up some holes. It's very janky. Like this tavern is only ran by maybe 1, maybe 2 people. So I want to keep the bar feeling very grungy and kind of a little bit run down, not too well maintained, but maintained just well enough to serve its customers. All right, I'm going to add in some seating now, and I think we're just going to do nice and classy scaffolding with, what is going on there? Honey level 0. And then for that, we're just going to do some nice and easy mangrove stairs because we want to match the seats and like kind of the whole accent colors of the place. So let's throw in a pair of seating right here. Very nice. And maybe we do one more right next to the entrance. not too bad. We can actually push this one away from the wall. Oh, it feels way more crowded. All right, back up against the wall. Never be afraid to experiment with your interiors, especially when you're dealing with some new situations like how I am. I've never made a bar before in Minecraft. Are you kidding me? Very nice, very clean. Now, maybe we also try to sneak in a few paintings. Yes, I have some paintings here. Let's see what we got. Okay, too big. Let's just grab some freaking dirt so we can get it exactly how I want it. Let's get a nice little 2x2 in there. We got Mueller. Ooh, the Wither is actually a perfect fit for this. Okay, nice. And we also have some of our custom paintings that, you know, fan art has contributed to. So we could try to sneak those in. So we have the actual bar. We have some seating. We have some nice wall decoration as well. But I'm thinking in this corner, it'd be kind of cool to have some sort of maybe a dartboard. I have no idea how I'm going to go about making a dartboard or any sort of like game, because I feel like a lot of bars, especially ones that I go to, tend to have some sort of little game or activity you can do while you're at the bar. And I feel like it'd just be nice, you know, if you're, you know, a weary traveler and you're looking for a nice little brew, maybe some food, and maybe a little bit of entertainment as well. All right, here's my running idea for a dartboard. Very simple. There it is. There's our dartboard. Ironically, it actually does work. Can I put like another item frame behind this? No, okay. Be cool if I could like do two freaking target blocks to try to make a circle of some sort, but I think a diagonal, you know, this is Minecraft, so like some sort of diamond shape like this is very circular. But we can go one step further. Let's try to make like some sort of cupboard for it, because usually dartboards have a sort of cover or cupboard for them. So let's get a little fancy here. Okay, we need to move our shulkers. They're getting in the way now. All right, you can call me whatever you want, but this is our new storage setup for now while we're working in here. I mean, I'm not going to be placing anything up here. You know, it works. All right, here's our dartboard that I somehow came up with. I think maybe we add a tripwire hook or so here. Where'd my tripwire hooks go? Right there. Very nice. I do wish I had the armor stand utility stuff where I could have custom armor stands hold up certain items, you know, off of these. It would be nice to have that extra level of detail, but I like to stick with vanilla Minecraft as close as I possibly can. And I simply think that adding, you know, custom armor stand mechanics like that is just a little too extra detail for what you guys could achieve in like your own world. All right, but on this wall right here, I think we got to add in a bunch of paintings. Not this one. There we go. Now we got some paintings up, and I'm kind of imagining there's some sort of like poster where, you know, there's a little bit of self-advertising from people who have come by. I want this place to feel like it's very heavily visited by a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of Earth. So, yeah, they'd like advertise their little shops or whatever. Where'd my signs go? There they are. And I just think that's neat. Let's do one more sign right there. Just kind of help this feel a bit more squared off and not so randomized. And then we could probably throw in a few more seatings on the wall right there. And then we could probably call it good. There we have it. Our tavern interior is pretty much done. Although I just realized this wall is pretty blank. And I think we could go with a rug somewhere in here. And maybe on this wall right here, we just make it nice and easy on ourselves. And we just make some shelves to kind of show off some of the... you know, some of the items we could have on display here. Maybe we do a brewing stand right there, an item frame here and there, pot, one more pot. All right, and here we have it. Our bar is like fully complete now. Oh my goodness gracious. I actually love how this looks, especially when you're walking in for the first time. I just had a moment of that a minute ago when I came in, and I was like, dang, this place actually kind of pops. We added in all the books behind these, you know, the display case right here. And now it looks super colorful and very, very nice. And I just love all the little details. There's a little bit of movement too with the candles. And the brewing stand has a little bit of particles coming through as well. Oh, I love it so much. Then we have the staff area back here, very dimly lit with our soul lantern. I do like using these soul lanterns a lot. I wish the color wasn't so, you know, blue, but the lighting from them is very perfect. All right, but now we gotta work upstairs on the in portion of this. Let's grab all my stuff and migrate upstairs. All right, so the upstairs area should be a lot more straightforward. First off, it's freaking dark in here. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit better. So first off, I'm thinking this is our entrance into the inn area up here. So we'll have a very narrow hallway. I think we'll try to make it 2 wide. Maybe... we can't really do 3 wide because we have these windows right here in the middle. So we'll do 2 wide, very narrow, and we'll have a little exit right here where you can go out onto the balcony and kind of see out into this area. Quite a nice view, to be honest. And then we'll make probably about 3 rooms. I'm trying to think of how we can kind of sketch this out. Let's grab, I Okay, we're gonna use this moss as our temporary outline just to help us get a better idea what's going on here. So we have our hallway. We'll have room number 1 be probably right around here. And then we can divide the room like that. And then we can do another room division like that. So we'll have like a master. Actually, no, that's really small. Let's do this. Oh, there's our first problem. We have a window right there. Okay, here's how we're dividing it up. So there'll be very small rooms, 2x2s, or what is this, 2x4? And then we'll have the door on the left side of all of them. All right, so this is how I'm thinking about planning it out. Very simple. We have 4 rooms, little 2x4s, nothing too crazy. They all have windows except for this guy right here. This is the cheapest room. And because we have a lot of these hints of blue, it might be kind of cool to make these walls on the interior, you know, our interior walls here, out of this blue terracotta and maybe a little bit of tuff as well. I gotta go grab some though. All right, here's our crowded hallway. It is very crowded, I will say. I want to add in our doors. Where's my crafting table? Now we need to give all these rooms beds. We'll make, oh gosh, we'll have to figure out what colors we got to do here. Let's do a cyan bed, a brown bed, a yellow bed, and a green bed. And I'm thinking all these rooms are going to be pretty samey, so we can just give them all a barrel. Probably a little bit of candle action for the lighting in there. Then maybe some shelves. We also got to add in our freaking ceilings into this place. So let's go with 1 block above where it currently is. We'll have some nice raised roofs because this is a very crowded area. So we got to at least give them something. Then we'll try to fit each room with a little bit of storage and a nice little thing of decoration. I think that will be very nice. Now, one of these rooms, I decided not to add a candle because I wanted to kind of invert the expectations, I guess, to have a little bit of variety. So we'll put a pot on this one, and then let's get some shelves in here. And maybe we do the shelf right there. We do the candles. Oh, it's kind of hard to see the candle. Maybe the candle goes right above the window. Flint and steel. Then we do maybe a double chest on this one, just to make up for the lack of room. Then, of course, we got to add in a little bit of paintings for everyone to enjoy while they're relaxing in their stay here at the inn. And I don't know why, but you get a stack of logs. All right, the inn portion of the inn and tavern is finished. Look at this. I love how these turned out. Very simple detailing, you know, just the beds and the little shelf and a little bit of storage or whatnot. And they all have their own little bit of a unique design. This guy has no windows, so he has to suffer, and I think I'm supposed to light that candle too. For a little bit of extra light that guy does not get for his sleep. And we have this room. We also got some of our custom paintings up just because I like them and they're awesome, and they work actually really well with these really colorful walls. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how all of this turned out. I think it's sick. And look, we even see some of the interiors from out here now, and I think that's a really neat detail. I wonder what this place looks like at nighttime to get a better idea of you know, how the lighting looks and everything. Oh, but look at the inside of the tavern from outside. I love this level of detail. We popped off on the inside. Okay. All right, we're back in the Cyberpunk City, and ignore the fact that these guys are still here. This might be the same clip from the intro. I might record it a little bit out of order this week, but we are ready to start working on our building over here. We got to clear out a little bit of extra terrain just to make some room for this building. I am very excited to work on this thing. It's kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different inspirations, and I've kind of stuck them all together with some putty glue and taken a lot of, you know, things I've learned from Taco Squad. Because if you guys didn't know, this corner cafe building here is something that I built with the legendary Taco Squad. He's a very, very talented cyberpunk builder for Minecraft, and he taught me a lot of things, and I decided to try and apply them myself. So a big core thing with Cyberpunk is that it feels very, like, tumorous, if that makes sense. So the whole idea is that, like, you usually have a base building, and then on top of that building, there's, like, little extensions that were added on after the fact to, you know, make more room for X, Y, and Z or whatnot. This is probably the best example I have in my world, but our new building that we're working on today is a great example of all of this. So our core idea is that we have a base building that's going to be made out of stone, and then we're going to have a bunch of other type of buildings, windows, different color, buildings or whatnot are going to be sticking out the sides of it, kind of giving it that very cyberpunk look. And of course, we got to throw in a bunch of fancy lights to make it look oh so lit up and lived in. And very colorful as well. We need color to contrast with the very neutral tones that we lean towards in this building. So yeah, if you didn't realize yet, we're gonna be building it right here in this corner plot. And then eventually we'll be tearing down our nightclub right here because I am very tired of looking at this building. It's very small. I have no way of connecting it up with the corner right here because I want this whole corner to be flushed out eventually. So this will be probably another building we'll work on in the future. I want to tear this down. Now, before we get building, I quickly want to experiment with the new dry grass. So typically I would use wheat as we did right here for that dry grass look. But now we have actual dry grass in the game. And I want to experiment with this because I haven't placed any down yet. I've collected some. But now we have some nice variety because we have the tall and the short variants here. I need to get sure my shears are out. And we can replace a lot of this wheat with some proper croppage right there. Look at that. That's going to be so much nicer and a lot more subtle than before. We can keep some of the wheat if we want to. It has a lot more of a golden look in my resource pack. But I am quite the fan of how this all looks. Ooh, it's a nice little color pop. It's not as crazy as the wheat, which I'm quite the big fan of. Mojang, this is one of the biggest throws you've ever done, but you can't place this stuff on top of the path blocks. And this would look so good with the path block. Oh my god. It could do like a golden field of, I don't know, like a golden field of grass or whatever. And you could use the path blocks. But instead, they just made it so you can do it on farmland. Like, they're the same height. Please let us do it on dirt paths. Oh my goodness. All right, there we go. We've replaced all the wheat, and I think I like this a lot more just because it's a little bit more subtle. It feels like actual foliage that goes with the grass. Some nice height variation too with the smaller variant. Oh, Mojang cooked with this update. I am such a big fan of this. And I think I said it last episode, but it feels like the finalization of the wild update. And I am just blessed that they finally did it. Anyways, y'all, it is time to get started. So, of course, and as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the montage. All right, guys, this is our building finally complete, and I am oh so content with how this thing turned out. Look at this thing. So here's the front side, or I guess there's not really a front to it. There's two sides. So there's one side, and then here is the street side here. We finally have a street forming here too with two buildings on each side, and it feels amazing. I am so in love with how this all has turned out. Look at this side. This side is so cool. And I just love how this building feels like an amalgamation of a bunch of different buildings all shoved into, stacked on top of each other. And look, the sun is going down right now, so you can experience some of the lighting that is throughout the building. It's very colorful on some of the sides and then very, very neutral leaning in most of the sides, which I really like because it just really grabs your attention towards the color. And like a lot of this neutral color is just kind of a nice shape to look at. It's a neutral space. It's a negative space to look at. So yeah, the main thing I was going for was a nice central building. So a lot of the stone that you'll see on this building, the flat stone sides are all like the core central building. And then we have this building kind of tacked onto the side. We have the apartment complex kind of right here. We have like this whole like CVS kind of style thing going on the bottom. And then over here we have like the same apartment part of like the stone. We have another little shoot off right here with the wax copper and a little jungle thing right there. Oh, I am so in love with how this has all turned out and has all come together. Like even this side right here, we have these windows right here leading into like the apartments or whatever. And we have some extra windows over here. We even have a little plant right there just for a little bit of green, for a little bit of color pop. Oh, yes. So some of you might not be the biggest fan of this big old pale part right here, like skin color, you know, the inside mushroom block. This thing was kind of really annoying to make just because I had to double layer all of the mushroom blocks just to make sure I got the inside texture of the mushroom. But I really wanted this to stick out because it is kind of like a main central focus point to kind of anchor your vision on the entire build, to kind of centralize like, okay, this is, you know, the corner of the building. And even when you're on the other side, it does a really good job of like grabbing your attention and kind of centering your focus along this, while also like, you know, all these colorful buildings and palettes and everything really grab your attention, your like full attention. And of course, you gotta have a little bit of 7-Eleven inspiration. We love their palette out here. We got some orange, we got some green back there, a little bit of blue on the bottom. There was more blue originally, but then I ended up doing some end rods right here for the lower window frames, and also it adds extra lighting to the actual LED sign of like, you know, like 7-Eleven or whatever there, which I absolutely love. Then we also have like a little vending machine right here where eventually I'll put some books back there, and I might even try to shove in an armor stand or two right here with like some chest plates or maybe even helmets to kind of give the look that this whole thing is filled up with, you know, knickknacks or whatever vending machine purposes you have. We have a nice little garage right here. I love adding in some garages to like these very, you know, like this is supposed to be like a CVS, right? So I feel like it makes sense for some sort of loading dock for garages, or for trucks to come in and drop off all their supplies for the store at the bottom here. And then this is like a little entry code right here. You can press the button and the garage would open up. Some imagination, of course. Now, as we have done with a lot of our other buildings here, we have no interior. In fact, this part right here doesn't even reach the ground. I'm kind of not too sure if another building will kind of take its place or help fill in those gaps. So I'm not too concerned about filling it up right this very moment. But right here, you can see it's just a nice stone face. And it's just because we're going to be, you know, flush up against this building, adding another building right here, and then probably another taller one right there. We'll work on all that a bit, you know, as we develop the city itself. Now, I want to sleep, and I want to see what the skyline looks like now from the birch forest. All right, here's the birch forest, and I feel like I haven't seen it from this angle ever. And I love how foresty this right side looks. It just feels so much more dense. And the horse statue sticking out from the rest of it. Okay, kind of cooks. But here's the skyline of the city. I like it a lot, actually. I'm a really big fan of that building over there. A nice stone little facade with a little bit of color coming through with the greens and the reds from the crimson and the greens from the windows there too. A little bit of orange coming through with those pipes. And oh yeah, and even the wax part right there with the copper looks really good. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy with how this turned out. The only unfortunate thing is that like this used to be kind of a nice sharp end to the city, and it kind of made a nice leading line. But as we work on more buildings, we'll kind of flesh out the skyline and it'll look a lot better. I don't think any building is going to be taller than the Moss building, but there might be one more building that kind of sticks through like right over there in the future, you know, a bit further back in the city. And we still got to work on filling up this area right here, which will be a challenge, but we'll get there eventually. Anyways, y'all, I think that's going to be doing it for today's episode. I had so much fun working on this building behind me, even though I hate building city buildings. It is very, very tough, but I had a lot of fun working on this thing. It took me a few days, but I got it up and running, and I am just so in love with how this has all turned out. Oh my goodness gracious. So of course, if you liked the video, make sure to like the video. If you liked me, subscribe, and if you really liked me, consider joining as a member. Anyways, y'all, that's going to do it. Bye.